Hi, Paul. Thanks so much for coming on and taking the time to have a chat with us.
Thanks, Michael. Pleasure to be here.
So I thought I'd just throw you the ball. And for people that are unfamiliar with Orthocell, are you able to explain what the company does at the moment? And then we can go on to your,
Yeah,
your plans for the future afterwards.
yeah. So we're a medical device company that works in the regenerative medicine space, and we've developed a collagen-based platform, which consists of three main products. And the first product to market was for the regeneration of human bone. The second product that we've had to market is for the regeneration and repair of nerve repair. In the upper limb predominantly, but all over the body. And then the third product from the platform that we have is for tendon repair. So we work in what's called the musculoskeletal space, and that is that we really focus on the framework of the body that enables us to gain mobility and freedom of movement. And so we're a regenerative medicine company. We work in the medical device space, and we have a collagen platform that has evolved three products that are either in market or moving to market.
Seems like from the outside, the collagen opportunity is the most exciting. Why don't we start with the bone, since that's what you have?
Yeah, so the bone was the first product that we took to market. That product is now approved in Australia, the US, Europe, Canada, and soon to be in other jurisdictions also, with applications underway in Brazil, Colombia, and Singapore. So a really busy regulatory program. That's a product that is used in predominantly in what's called maxillofacial surgery or surgeries of the jaw, and is used very commonly and most commonly by dentists. And they use our product to augment bone growth within the jaw where there's been what's called bone reabsorption. So this is all really centered around the use of dental implants. And so 40% of all dental implants, if you're going to put a metal post into the bone, 40% don't have enough bone. The bone reabsorbs over time. And so to get that successful implant, or get the implant to be successful, you need to bone graft. And every single bone graft needs to have a barrier membrane or a collagen membrane that sits over the top. And that collagen membrane protects it from the outside world. Our product does two things though. It protects the bone graft from the outside world, but it also encourages the bone to repair in a faster and matures in a faster and more predictable fashion. And so it's a product that is used in conjunction with bone graft. It's a product that enables dental implants to be placed. And this is one of the fastest growing areas of dental surgery today. We're really excited about the clinical data, and as a result of having the product approved in multiple jurisdictions and outstanding clinical data, we were able to attract a fantastic commercial partner. And that commercial partner is a company called BioHorizons. BioHorizons is 66% owned by Henry Schein, one of the largest dental companies in the world. And so they assessed that that product had some value for them as a corporation to enable them to have a biological product within their bag that enabled them to have greater success for their dental implant business. And so BioHorizons paid us $21 million net of fees up front for an exclusive license and distribution agreement. So what we did there was we've developed and innovated a fantastic new product in this space. We've been able to get it regulatory approved across multiple jurisdictions. We were able to gather key opinion leaders across the globe, and all of those key opinion leaders were advocates on our behalf, and that resulted in a relationship with BioHorizons where they paid us for their exclusivity, and we're now able, as a company based in Australia, access to the global markets. And so we now manufacture the product, we sell that to them, and then they on-sell it into the marketplace. So a fantastic start for our company and a fantastic relationship with one of the world's leading dental companies.
Got it. So what's the revenue of that business, and what do you think the opportunity is globally?
Yeah, so globally we see this, it's probably about an 800 million to $1 billion market. It's one of the fastest growing areas in dentistry. And so, we've just ticked over, close to $1 million worth of revenue, and that at the very early stages. And so, we're really excited about our partner who have great expertise in this space. They have their own implant systems of which we complement very well. And they own a more than 20% market share globally. And so that provides us, with a fantastic opportunity, and a 20% market share for us, gives us, the ability to, really tap into that 700, $800 million market that we're playing in.
And is that sizing 800 to a billion? Is that specifically for what your product could be used for? That is a revenue opportunity, or
Specifically,
is it smaller than that?
No, specifically for our product. So that's a revenue opportunity that we're presenting there. So interesting to note, right? So we didn't start out to develop a dental product, but we realized along the journey of developing our nerve product that we also had a really good application in bone. And so what we're able to do, that the bone products are a lower margin, higher volume product compared with our nerve product, which is a high volume and a high margin product. So sort of different products within the portfolio. But what this relationship with BioHorizons enabled us to do was to attract non-dilutive capital to the company. $21.5 million up front. Fantastic result for our company. But even more importantly than that, it gives us pathways to the international markets, and it really has validated our manufacturing profile. So as a company based in Australia, as a manufacturer of our own products, we're able to have access to those global markets. And so we monetized that opportunity. And what that did is it really validated the due diligence that was done by BioHorizons and Henry Schein was significant, not just on our product and our innovation, our intellectual property, but our manufacturing capability, the capability for us to deliver on what they require. And it also gave us the advantage that we're able to scale up our manufacturing operations, not just for our bone product, but we're able to scale up our manufacturing for our nerve and tendon products to follow. So a fantastic outcome, non-dilutive capital, access to global markets, and really solidified us as a quality manufacturer distributing and manufacturing our products across the globe.
What would it take to increase from, say, $1 million to a much more substantial part of that market? What do you think will determine?
We've just scratched the surface, right? So this product's now been in the hands of BioHorizons for a couple of years. So they've had a really successful product launch in the US, and we're expanding that internationally. And, BioHorizons are now preparing for a launch of the product in Austria, Switzerland and Germany. And so they've requested us for other jurisdictional applications as well. So the growth is going to come through that relationship. And after the introduction, we're now expanding that out globally. So we see a lot of growth potential there.
Yeah, got it. Okay, why don't we move on to nerves and Remplir then? So what product is that exactly?
So this is again a collagen product that comes from our collagen platform. It's a very unique product in that it has very unique qualities and characteristics that differentiate it from anything else on the marketplace. Very importantly, it has placed into the nerve tissue, and it joins two nerves together. And it joins those two nerves together that have been severed or crushed and have caused paralysis or lack of function in limbs. The traditional method has been to join those two nerves together using a needle and thread. And the first publication about using a needle and thread in the literature was back in the 1860s. And effectively we've been doing the same thing since the 1860s, and we're still doing the same thing now, and that's repairing these nerves with a needle and a thread. Certainly we've become more sophisticated in how we apply those needles. But what happens when you apply those needles is that it causes scar tissue in the nerve itself. No matter how good a surgeon you are, there is a degree of scar tissue is formed. And what that does is it inhibits a consistent and predictable growth of the nerves. And so what we're after here is a product that can join the nerves together by either reducing or negating the use of the damaging sutures. We've got a product that's very adhesive and can stick those nerves together. And it creates not only a sticky Band-Aid-like product, but it also provides us with a bioactive chamber. And so that means that the product enhances the nerve's ability to heal. One, it reduces scar, and two, it enables a consistent and predictable return to function and a predictable return of function to those paralyzed limbs. And so a really exciting product in what is a really large market segment globally.
Pretty incredible they use needle and thread. I mean, how big are these nerves? How do you even use that on something presumably quite small or quite narrow?
Yeah, look, you'd be surprised at some of the size of nerves in our body. They really are very visual. Some of them are as big as your little finger, the sciatic nerve and the like. But you're right. And some of those nerves, and many of them, are very, very small. Some of them require a microscope. So that's the exact point, is that how do you control a needle in a very small zone like that? Very difficult to do so. And we've done a lot of usability studies with some of the best surgeons in the world, and it's shown that it's almost impossible not to prang the nerve when you're doing that repair. So a product that can decrease or negate the use of sutures, a product that creates a better environment for the nerve to heal. A bioactive chamber is desired. And this product not only provides more predictable and consistent clinical outcome, it also reduces the surgical time that it takes to repair these nerves. So instead of having to set up a microscope and put 6, 7, 8 sutures into a nerve, we're now talking about one or maybe no sutures at all. And so we're having to do less handling of the nerves, which is good. We're having to do less dissection of the tissue around the nerves, which is good. And we're reducing the overall surgery time, which is very, very good for the patient, but also very, very good cost economically for the healthcare community.
Right. So if we look at the images, like in your presentations, it kind of looks like almost a piece of paper that wraps around the nerve.
It's a bit.
Is that how it works, and how does it compare to alternatives at the moment?
Yes, great question. So the product, I don't know if the audience is familiar with a chamois, but a chamois is something you clean the car with, right? And it's that soft but very, very tough tissue chamois used to come from an animal origin. And so our product is a chamois, if you like, that's used in human health. It's a very soft, compliant piece of tissue that degrades over time in the body. So it's implanted, it helps join the nerves together, but it degrades and integrates into the nerve itself. And so this is a very, very unique product that's designed to mimic human collagen. And in fact, it's designed to mimic the outside edge of the nerve called the epineurium. So we have a product that's mimicking the tissue that's there, a product that dissolves over time, and a product that enhances the healing process and reduces this amount of surgery time that's taken to repair the nerve.
Yeah, got it. Now, in terms of alternatives, so what are the other options that surgeons might have?
Yeah, so this has been and that's again an excellent question. So we're not absolute pioneers in this space in that we didn't invent the use of or the attempts to try and use collagen to help repair nerves. But what we did invent was a very unique product that sits in that domain. And so the competition products that we see, the likes of Axogens and Integras, are what we'd call a Generation 1 product. So they're stiff, hard conduits that take a long time to absorb water and become compliant. They don't dissolve or degrade very well within the body. They cause scar tissue. So as a concept, we've seen it really well validated by those companies. But there's also now a realization, not just by the community, but others, that perhaps it's not the best of designs. Perhaps they're not fit for purpose. And so our product, we believe, as we've learnt from their experiences, and we've been able to develop and innovate a product that is absolutely fit for purpose. It integrates and degrades at the right time point, which is what we believe these other products don't do. They either last too long in the body and get in the way, or they don't last long enough. And so they're either eaten up by the body and disappear too quickly, or they last too long and they become encapsulated and they cause scar and inflammation, which decreases the consistency of the nerve repair. And so what our product is doing is increasing that consistency. It's very, very compliant as opposed to these other products that aren't. So from a handling perspective, as soon as you put our product into a surgeon's hands, they stop talking and they look at it and they feel it and they touch it and they're enamored totally by its compliancy and how it can be used clinically. And so that's one of the great advantages of this product, is that you can feel it and you can touch it and you can see the benefits of it right there in your own hands even before you put it into the patient.
And how's it manufactured? Are you able to go into some detail on that?
Yeah, so we have a series of ISO accreditations here at our facility in Australia. We're very proud manufacturers of the product, and we've developed, a really strong and robust system now that has been approved by multiple international jurisdictions. So we have a really robust manufacturing process. How it works is that we bring in animal raw material and we chemically and mechanically manipulate that raw material. And so we take a virtually valueless piece of animal material and we turn it into an extremely high value medicinal product. We now manufacture that for international partners. We now manufacture that for local patients here as well. And we find ourselves with a validated manufacturing process now that we export internationally, of which we're really proud of.
Got it. And when we talk about what kind of trials did you have to do to get this into market? And did you have to go head to head? Is there any benefit, not just in surgeon convenience, were there any benefits in outcomes that you can point to?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly we have generated clinical data, and it's a really important point. And so we've recently published our initial clinical paper in Journal of Reconstructive Microsurgery, a very well-respected journal. And what we were able to show in that paper in particular was an 85% success rate with paralysed limbs. And so we were able to take patients who had nerve damage which either paralysed their hands or their arms or indeed the whole of their upper trunk. And we were able to show that we had a very consistent and predictable clinical outcome, much faster performed than other procedures that have come before. And as a result, the surgeons involved started with basic nerves in the hand and the fingers. We then moved to more complex nerves in the shoulder and the elbow. And then because of the confidence that grew, we worked with surgeons here in Australia to pioneer what's called help pioneer what's called nerve transfer. And that's where we're taking nerves from other parts of the body and transferring them into areas where there's paralysis. And an example of this is we now treat and have done a lot of work in treating quadriplegic patients. So these are patients that have had a catastrophic neck injury, which has caused paralysis of their body, their limbs. But what it doesn't do and what it hasn't done is that they can still breathe for themselves. So they've got nerves that they can control in their chest and their thorax area. So what we do is we take redundant nerves from their chest area and their axilla, their armpit, and we replug them back into their triceps and their biceps. And over time, that gives them movement back in their arms and their hands. And so we're returning function to paralysed limbs in quadriplegic patients. Quite phenomenal outcomes. And by way of example, we have a number of case studies. An Australian champion downhill cyclist, a mountain biker, came off his bike, fractured his neck. 9 months after his injury, he had our surgery. 2 years and 2 months later, he drove his own car down to visit our facility. So he had incredible mobility return. So he could use his arms. He was able to power his wheelchair. And he said to me, Paul, but the most important things that you have done for me, he said, 3 things that you've done for me. He said, number 1, you've given me the ability to have access to the outside world via my phone. He said, you have no idea about the ability for me to pick up a phone, turn it over, and use my fingers to dial somebody and talk to them on that phone. He said, that's freedom. That gives me access to the internet. It gives me access to the world. You've done a wonderful thing there for me. He said, to be able to drive my vehicle, to get a job, to have self-esteem, to be mentally strong, he said, has been an incredible benefit for me as an individual following this devastating injury. And he said, but by overwhelmingly what you've done is you've given me the ability to hug my children and to hug my wife, to have physical connection, to be able to touch and feel is such a thing that we take for granted. And when you see patients that don't have that ability, to have the return of that ability, the return of mobility, the return of their mental health, the return of the ability to hug their loved ones, has been a truly fantastic moment for our company. But most importantly, it's been a fantastic moment for our patients. And what we've seen here is outstanding innovation from Orthocell, tremendous clinical acumen from our surgeons, and fantastic bravery from some of the most compromised patients that you'd ever want to treat. And so we have a product here that not only is making a really big impact on patients, making a big impact on surgeons, but it also is presenting an incredibly strong cost economic developmental piece for the healthcare industry. So we're reducing the dependence of these patients, as well as quickening surgery and making those other elements easier to do. So, quite profound moments, and ones that, when I look at the videos that our company has put together, and I implore people to, in the investment community, to have a look on our website, and there's a number of videos there of young ladies and men who have been terribly compromised. And so, we're proud of that. We're proud that we've been able to change people's lives. We're proud that we've been able to develop a manufacturing process here. And what we've seen in the delivery of this technology into the Australian marketplace is nothing short of phenomenal. I've really been involved in product launches in the US, Europe and Australia. And the product launch of Rempler has seen in the last 18 months, 161 surgeons use the product in over 130 hospitals across the country. And so, to have that kind of uptake surgically between plastics, reconstructive surgeons and orthopedic surgeons has been a really fantastic piece. And again, we've seen, revenues grow on the back of that, which has been really exciting.
Let's come back to commercials. But so in those surgeries, like in example of somebody who's, quadriplegic, where's the product used there? Are you reconnecting the nerves and your product is wrapping around it to make it kind of reconnect? Is that what's happening?
Yeah. Yeah, so you've got a nerve which is taken from somewhere else in the body, and you are plugging that into the nerve. So you have to cut the damaged nerve, you have to cut the live nerve, you're threading that live nerve back into the damaged nerve, and you're then joining those two nerves together. So think of it like an electrician, right? So we're taking a live wire to a dead wire, and we're plugging that live wire back in, and that will then innervate the dead wire. But it takes time. It's not like electricity that'll run there immediately. It grows by about a millimetre a day. So it takes time. But what we're doing is we're providing a pathway for that live nerve, that live spark, to go down the dead wires. And then what happens over time, then we see a comeback in nerve function and movement.
Presumably that takes some time and training for the nerves to reorganize and be controlled again.
It does. So there's three really, important elements here. That's have an outstanding product that's fit for purpose, to have surgeons that can do these operations successfully, and we've made it easy for them to do that. And of course the rehabilitation. There is a rehabilitation quotient to it, where we work with occupational therapists, and they really motivate the patients to continue to reconnect their brain function to their injury. And one of the really important things that we saw come out of the clinical study, which is really has been commented by clinicians across the globe, is that a large number of these patients that we treat are all on opioid or similar very heavy pain clearing drugs. And what we were able to show is that post this surgery, post using Remplir, we were able to reduce to virtually zero the use of these heavy narcotic analgesia to help with the pain of these patients. So really exciting outcomes. Again, and that's a big cost economic productivity benefit to the patients and to the healthcare community as well.
Right. I'm just trying to understand more about kind of the surgeon decision. So my understanding is this is approved in Australia, but not in the United States. So we'll come back to that process.
Not yet.
But what's making them choose your product over another? Are you able to shed some light on the competition as well?
Yeah, no, I think that's an outstanding question. And what we've been able to do here in Orthocell is develop what we believe is an unparalleled scientific narrative. So from the construct that we've developed, the shape of the product, the unique characteristics of that product, right through to the ability for it to reabsorb and to integrate into the body. And so what we have here is a product that is different from others in the market. It's a product that is fit for purpose. And the surgeon decision comes from our scientific narrative. So we lay out our knowledge around this space. And in particular, our background is in regenerative medicine. So we come at this from a cellular level. Most of the other companies in this business come at it from a medical device perspective, a strengths perspective. So strong is good. We come at it from a different aspect. So strength is important, but it's not everything. Your product needs to integrate with the tissue. It needs to be tissue friendly. It needs to degrade at the right time point. So our product has learned from these Generation 1 products. We've developed it to be unique and provide us with consistent and predictable clinical outcomes, which is what the other companies have really struggled to do.
Got it. And in one of your presentations, you had the fact that of operations, only 10% of people used, one of your competitors. Why is that? What's going on there? What are they just not said? They
No, so the market leader today is a company called Axogen. Axogen hold about less than 20% market share. And so what that's shown is that there's been a really strong validation that this technology that this approach using a collagen medical device to reduce or negate sutures.
This is instead of sutures, right? So the vast majority are using sutures today.
Yeah, so the vast majority of the market is using sutures. And so our target is not necessarily our competitor, although of course they are. Our target is sutures. Our target is taking that over. So we're demonstrating that we've got a great scientific narrative. We're demonstrating that we've got good clinical data to support that narrative. We're showing that we can reduce suture time and it's easier for the doctor to use. So on all parameters, we're making it a better outcome for the doctor and a better outcome for the patient. And this product is fit for purpose. So for instance, Axogen, who's the market leader, they don't make their own product. They buy it from somebody else. Integra make their own product, but it's a 20-year-old technology. And so you've got the two market leaders struggling to gain further market share because their products aren't quite right. And so what we've come along and we've seen that the market is there, it's validated, surgeons want alternatives to suturing, and we've got to put the perfect product to provide that to them. And so, that's the pathway we're on now into the US.
Got it. So where are you at in terms of the US?
Yeah, so it's been, we've articulated to the market recently that, the success of the animal study that we're doing, which is important in entry into the US, we're going down what's called a 510K pathway. And that pathway is that you only really need animal data to get access to the US marketplace. You compare against another product, you show equivalency, and then you show your animal data. So number one, we've released our animal data, and that was successful in its outcomes. That data has now been rolled into a submission, and we've articulated to the market that we'll be making that FDA submission for approval, or for clearance as it's called, by the end of Q4 2024. So that's coming pretty soon. And so we're in the final stages of preparation for that application. With the 510K application, it takes 90 days, or it's legislative to take 90 days. And so we're hopeful that we can have an approval in the US, or clearance in the US, in Q1 of 25, late in Q1 of 20. So we're really excited about that process. The animal work's been fantastic. We've got a really strong program. We've worked with the FDA with 2 pre-sub meetings. And so we're really confident that we're on our pathway to getting access to that really lucrative and exciting US marketplace.
And also, I guess it's already approved in, Australia and other places. So from the outside,
Yeah.
it looks like that approval should be quite likely.
Yeah, so just to, for the audience's benefit as well, for the whole portfolio of products across the platform, we've implanted this in over 60,000 patients now. So this is a huge body of work, and there's not many products at our stage of development that have been implanted into that many patients, right? So that shows that there's been a great uptake across the platform. It shows that it's an incredibly safe product. It shows that we've been able to get this product approved across many jurisdictions now. So the platform, we have products in Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, US, Canada, Europe, and the UK, and now soon into Singapore again and Canada. And so, this has been validated by global regulatory authorities on a number of occasions now. So the risk here is very, very low. I'd like to think we know what we're doing. I'd like to think that we've got a really robust package. And those packages have been validated with some very, very good consultants who work with our talented team internally to produce these really, really high quality regulatory submissions that we've got now got a really strong track record of.
So I guess one problem with the 510K pathway, which is different to say small molecule drugs or elsewhere, is that, as you say, the bar's lower, so it's easier to get approved. But then there's kind of like less evidence. It's not like a drug that is convincingly proved to be better than the standard of care. There's often a lot of competitors in the market, and then success can determine. It's more about sales strategy, marketing, and how you do that. What's the marketing plan? How much are you planning on spending? Can you talk about your strategy to actually get it to market?
Yeah, sure. So really important parts of the business is that you need to have good clinical data. You can't sell a piece of popcorn without a bit of data. Basically, you need to have an evidence base. You need that clinical data, and we have that in 2 elements. We have that in a published clinical data, and we also have real world evidence work, which is post-market clinical follow-up data. So a really strong data package for the surgeons, underpinned by really strong science. And that science is multiple animal studies. And in the nerve space, the animal studies are really, really important part of your building of knowledge and evidence to use the product. So it shows it's safe, and it shows that it's efficacious, that it works. And then, of course, your next comment, which was very relevant, was how do you get it to market, and what's the strategy there? So we've been in a very fortunate position in that for Australia, we were able to get that product into the US marketplace, the European and Australian marketplaces. We were able to get clinical traction. We were able to gain key opinion leaders who are our advocates and our product champions. And we were able to gain centres of excellence that were able to use our product. And we had a team of some 16 key opinion leaders that worked with us as our advocates and our product champions. And so you need to have a product that's appropriately priced. You need to have a product that has the right champions in the marketplace. And you need to have a product that is distributed across a broad range of hospitals and jurisdictions. And so we are going to be doing and evoking a hybrid model. And so we won't be spending huge amounts of capital on a completely direct workforce. We think that's cumbersome, and we think that that's very expensive. And it can be equally done as well through the multitude of networks of distribution partners that exist in the United States. The world's largest healthcare market has the world's largest number of healthcare distributors. And so we're going to be working with our senior management as direct sales, our product managers as direct, and then we work with distributors within that piece. And when we do it, our initial introduction, we're going to be working in areas alongside our key opinion leaders, Mass General in Boston, Washington University in St. Louis, to name a few. So we're working and have been working for the last 2 years on getting these key opinion leaders, developing those networks, and we've done that, I think, pretty successfully, which leads us with great confidence about gaining market traction in the United States.
And what are the key selling points you're saying? Do you have data you can point to that says this is a better outcome than sutures, or it's faster, or it heals better, or what are you actually putting in that package to the
Yeah, so it's a stepwise introduction of the surgeon from bench testing through animal through human. So you're creating a package for the surgeon. You're creating trust and faith for that doctor through the pathway. Okay, so they did the bench work, very impressive. Okay, they've done multiple animal studies, very good for safety and tolerability. These guys have actually done clinical work, and they've done post-market clinical work. So that's the full package that is used to give confidence to surgeons that you've done a lot of work. And when I tell surgeons that it's been implanted into over 50 and approaching 60,000 patients now, that gives them really good comfort that we have a safe and efficacious product that can be used for this beautifully delicate nerve tissue that we're now embarked in.
And what was the thinking in terms of launching this outside of the United States first?
That's something I get asked a lot, right? And so every single key opinion leader that I've spoken to recently, and I'm talking about over 20 of them in the US, every one of them asked me, are you approved in your own market first? Do you have clinical data, right? And so they want to know that you can committed to your own market and that you're not coming to the US because it's easier to get into the US. So in Australia, for instance, and Singapore, where we've recently been approved, you need clinical data to be approved in that market. In the US, you don't need the clinical data. So the clinical data that we've generated provides us with a really strong evidence base to move into that market. So the strategy was to get approved in our own jurisdiction first, to get reimbursement in that market first, so we can now demonstrate to global partners, both investors and distribution partners and potential acquirers down the track, that we have a reimbursable product. We have a product that's growing great traction in the in the Australian marketplace with plastics, reconstructive and orthopedic surgeons. And we've learnt a huge amount in that product launch that we are now taking into the US. So a strong strategic decision, reimbursement, regulatory approvals, knowledge gain, and then you move all of that into the US marketplace. And so we're far better placed today to attack the American marketplace than we would have if we had have had a crack before we did the Australian market approvals.
Yeah, got it. So you talked about the market sizing in your bone products. What's the market? Can we talk about that in the United States and globally for Regeneration?
Yeah, so this is where it starts to get exciting.
And also,
for us.
could you add margins? Let's talk about margins as well. We haven't really discussed that either.
Yeah. So we across the product portfolio, it's about 75 to 80% product margins. With Rempler, it's higher. With Striate, it's lower. But when you combine them to it's about a 75-80% gross margin, which is a really nice.
What are you targeting?
Rempler is higher, so that's up to about 90% gross margin. But when you combine the products together, it's about a 75 or 80%. So some outstanding gross margins, which provide us with a really, really good business model, right? We manufacture it ourselves. We don't outsource that. Super important, right? We manufacture our own products. So we're not having to pay somebody else and pay them large chunks of money to manufacture that for us and bring them into that cost economic equation, and the cost of goods goes up. So basically we manufacture ourselves, which is a really important piece. And that gives us access now to this really, really high value market across the globe. And we've assessed this as about a $3.5 billion market internationally when you're talking about Australia, US, Europe, Singapore, Canada, Brazil, and Japan. It's about a $3.5 billion market. And so, for us to conservatively attack 20% of that market share, we think it's very realistic that we could be at $355 million worth of revenue across the desk every year with a 20% market share across those jurisdictions. We've got the package, we've got the product, and we've got the clinicians to drive it. And so, that is a really exciting business opportunity for us. And again, really only scratching the surface. There's more jurisdictions that we can get involved in. And what we've also seen, though, is a really strong organic growth of our product. So our product now is not just used to join two nerves together with the reduction or negate sutures. We're also using it to protect nerves. So we're wrapping it around the nerve to protect it from scar and protect it from sticking down to tissue. So we're using it to connect, we're using it to protect nerves, and we're also now using it to cap nerves, where people have amputations and they've got this nerve that sits there flapping around on the end, and that causes what's called painful neuroma. And so it inhibits them in their placement of a prosthesis. It causes pain and increases their narcotic analgesia, which is not good. And so we cap, it's a bit like a chef's cap. We put a chef's cap over the end of that nerve and it stops that nerve from growing and causing these neuromas. So not only is there this massive connect market of 3.5 billion, there's also this organic growth around it. You know, the opportunity for this product is quite phenomenal in our view, and that's now been validated by surgeons here in this country, and increasingly is going to be invalidated by surgeons who are working with us in the United States.
Right. So let's zoom in back on that market sizing then. So how many? What's the actual price of, I don't know, a square sheet of this?
So we're reimbursed in the Australian marketplace for $1,380 for a 1.5 by 2 centimetre square piece of this chamois or this collagen.
And that'd be a small part of the total surgery costs, wouldn't it?
It's a small part of the total surgery cost. Yeah, the total surgery cost can be up to $15,000. So ours is a very small quotient of that. You know, the addressable market there for us is large. The cost economics is strong, and the cost of our product individually is not off the Richter scale, right? So how we've priced this is to be just slightly less than our competitor. Just slightly less. We've got a higher quality product, but we want to attract hospitals to take this product on. We want to attract surgeons to use it. So we've come in at a very competitive pricing. And so in Australia, we're reimbursed at that pricing, but we sell the product up to $2,500 for the larger sheets. And so these are really competitive healthcare products from a pricing perspective. And for this is an opportunity here for health in that a lot of products that come into the healthcare market add a health burden, health cost. And this is where John van der Wielen, our chairman, has been so strong in articulating this story. As the ex-CEO of HBF, one of Australia's largest healthcare insurers, he was particularly enamoured by this product because of the positive cost economic benefit to the community and to the healthcare community at large, including the health insurers and the hospitals. And so not only has this got a strong clinical benefit, it's got a really strong health economic benefit to society as well, which is a really big bonus in today's society.
So just to spell it out, how different is it from that competitor that you mentioned?
It's very different, right? So in handling qualities, theirs is stiff and rigid, right? And you have to soak them in water for over 20 minutes to between 20 and 40 minutes to even get it to be soft. Ours, you dip it in water and it absorbs the water instantaneously. So there's no delay in the surgery time for the surgeon to wait. From an inventory perspective, we have 3 main sizes. Our competitors have up to 25 sizes because their product has to fit the nerve. So you have to have all these different sizes to fit all the different sizes of nerves within the body because they're rigid. Ours are compliant. So you only need 1, 2 or 3 sizes for the whole of our product range. So the hospitals love it because they don't have the large inventories that they have to carry. And so we're different in shape, we're different in feel, and we're certainly different in the origin of the tissue, right? So the other competitor products come from intestinal tissue. And we now know from a regenerative medicine perspective that intestinal tissue is not the best tissue. It has inflammatory mast cells, so it's difficult to manufacture it. It's difficult to remove all the non-collagen material and DNA, and so as a consequence, they get greater inflammation when it's put into the body. Our product, on the other hand, is compliant to the nerve. We can fit a large nerve or a small nerve. It wraps around and complies to it. So there are great differences in handling. There's great differences in the clinical outcome, and there's differences in the cost economics as well.
Do you think you're going to need a sales distribution partner the same way you did with Straight, with your bone product?
So our initial foray into the market will be with smaller distributors on the way to attracting a larger distributor. So even the very largest companies in the world, in the US, the Strikers and the Biomets of the world, they still use distributors as well as a direct sales force. And so over the next 18 months, with introduction to the US, market traction in the US, growing numbers of hospitals in the US, and an appreciation from the hospital community and the investment community that we are indeed something different. That's how you attract the partner. Key opinion leader-led advocacy, centres of excellence, growing revenues, and a differentiated scientific narrative. They're the four things, and we have every single one of those.
Got it. Well, needless to say, it's 250 million market cap.
Yep.
So if you get anywhere near 350 million of revenue, that's a pretty enormous return potential for the stock from here. You think?
Yeah. Look, we've. Sorry, go on.
I was going to ask. Do you think you've got the financial capacity now after that raise to launch this product?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was just about to mention. And so from a company perspective, we find ourselves in a wonderful position. Not only have we recently raised $17 million to help really turbocharge our scenarios into the US, that provides us with about $3 million in the kitty today. So we're extremely well capitalized. We find ourselves in a go situation for the US. We've got the capital to deploy, we've got the product to deploy, and we're going to have it registered and ready to go with key opinion leaders ready there. So not only, is that the case, but we've also refashioned our board in recent times. And so we've got an incredibly powerful board now. We've got Fiona Wood, Australian of the Year, a great entrepreneur, inventor. She's had great successes, some failures, which I appreciate as much as the victories. So she's an incredible person who understands intimately what we're doing, but also understands the market. Great, very rare talent. She could be on any board in Australia, and she's on the board of Orthocell, and so we're very proud of that. Kim Beazley. Why, you might ask, do we have a politician on our board? Well, Kim is probably one of the most bipartisan ex-politicians the country's ever seen. He's an incredible talent, an ex-Rhodes Scholar, ex-Governor of Western Australia, ex-Ambassador to the US, and has deep defence knowledge. And so our product, when you think about what happens when you get shot, you damage bones, you damage nerves, and you damage tendons. And so we see great applications for this product in the Army or in the armed forces. And so Kim is a deep defence connections. He's well connected in the United States marketplace, and so he's going to help us with our defence grants and moving into that space. So he's a gentleman, a Rhodes Scholar of the highest order, a scholar of the highest order, and fantastic. And then lastly, from a board perspective, we have Ravi Thatani. Ravi's the CEO of Emory Hospital Group in Atlanta, about 36,000 employees in 8 different hospital groups within that. So he's an international healthcare heavyweight. And so to have someone like Ravi on our board, the ex-director of research at Mass General and Harvard University, absolute kudos to our company. Why is he there? For the same reasons Fiona's there, because they believe this product works and it's differentiated. And then last but not least on the board changes, we've had a new chairman in John van der Wielen. John brings a global financial heavyweight knowledge and expertise to this company. Ex-HBF CEO for 5 years, so he knows the healthcare industry well. He's got deep financial services background. He's led some huge companies in Europe and the UK. And so to have a person of John's quality and John's background come and chair our company has been nothing short of sensational. So what we've done is really fashioned the board for the next phase. Congrats to the last board. Did a great job getting the company where we were and where we are. But this is the next phase. And so each and every one of those board members that have passed have recognised that their skill sets are now need to be hand over the baton to the next phase. And so we're really proud and pleased that this is a board that can really drive us into this next scenarios that we're talking about.
Amazing. Before we wrap up, why don't you just give us an update on what we can expect from the calendar of the next 12 months? We've got the US a rollout.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll see a US submission Q4 of this year, which I know there's not much of Q4 left, but so stay tuned for the US submission. We're looking to have that submission and that clearance with the FDA, so having a product approved effectively in the US by the end of Q1 2025, so that's a really exciting milestone on our doorstep. We will be submitting in the first half of 2025 to Canada for Remplir, and we will be submitting into the EU and UK in 2025 as well. So continued regulatory approval and regulatory submissions. We're looking at Asian expansion with Thailand and the Philippines and Vietnam, and we're excited about clinical data that's going to be released along the pathway as well. So if you have a look at our company, Michael, you can see an incredibly busy company. Each quarterly is chock full of milestones and developmental phases within this company, and that's going to continue. So we've got a great news flow, growing revenues within the company, a solid and strategic board in place, US FDA approvals on the horizon with a product that's hugely differentiated. And so needless to say, I'm excited, and the market has begun to get excited about us as well.
Absolutely. So where was the cap raise? It was 60 cents, was it?
So we did the cap raise at 60 cents and we raised $17 million.
Yeah.
That gave us a total of 35 in the bank, which is a really strong position, and really just frees us up to go for it. Right? So for the share price to do that at 60 cents, to get, a largely institutional base come in, which is just what we needed. And then we've seen great support on market since then. So again, good news flow, good institutional support, fantastic new retail people coming in. And probably one of the most impressive things, I think, is not just the share price gain, which we're all delighted about and delighted that we've started to see some return on that value that we see there, but we've really only just scratched the surface, right? So, with US approvals coming, growing revenues, there's so much growth ahead of us, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Really appreciate it. So we're obviously participating in that 60 cents cap raise, and it's trading at $1.10.
Yeah.
So it's been a good start for us.
Happy days. No, look, it's a delight to. So I'm in a really unique position, right? So I get to interact with patients and I see the smile on their face, and that's truly warming and touches my heart every day. But I'm also able to work at the other end and provide opportunities for people to make money, for us to have a fantastic company. And beyond just making money, what my desire is as CEO is to have a fantastic business model, 100%. But to also leave a legacy, and that's to leave a legacy with Australian technology development, to leave a legacy with Australian manufacturing processes, so that we're manufacturing this great innovation, this great intellectual property in this country, and we're exporting it. Instead of importing back our own technology, we're making it and we're exporting it. So we love that manufacturing side of it. We love the leverage that this product gives us in market. We're super excited about, this really next phase, big phase of development that lays ahead of us.
Amazing. Well, so am I. Thanks so much for taking the time to have a chat with us. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Michael, and thanks so much for the support.